Bigger than a hell ring, things like you heard on the decks. Glover hold the court, give the chief no suspect. Politics in the mix, like double Stuart Rich. Spinning tales from Black Wall Street, real life's the pitch. Donnie Glover Show, read more news. Donnie Glover Show, read more news. Welcome to BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. How you doing, man?
Man, feeling well, man.
What's your name?
My name is Cardi Cornish.
And you a legend?
I'm a legend.
You're a legend here in Baltimore City. Where we at right now?
We live in the 17, Pennsylvania Avenue. The legendary Pennsylvania Avenue.
Man, the last time I saw you here, you were doing something just across the street here. What were you doing?
Oh yeah, I had some food left over from an event. We brung it out. We fed a couple of people, man.
Why you do that?
Nice soul food.
Why you do that?
Man, the love that God has shown me in Christ, man, it overflows. That's how it overflows.
That's right.
We got more than we can use. We got more than we can handle ourselves. We try to let it flow. Let it flow to the next person.
Yeah. We're proud of you, man.
Thank you.
And we're proud of your son.
Thank you.
Keep watching BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Business tips hotter than lava. Got that Midas touch. Stocks and blocks teaching youngins how to clutch. Ears to the concrete, finger on the pulse, dropping wisdom like Hova. Each word a joke. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 Walls painted black, history on lock. Blast off from Tulsa, rebirth like a clock. Markets rising from ashes to days. Donnie the narrator, truth runs in veins. Donnie Glover Show, be more news. 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 First name's Donnie, last name's Glover, in it to win it for the long haul, baby. It's showtime, Izzy Patoka. We've been waiting for you on this show. How you been?
I'm doing well, Donnie. How about yourself? It's been a long time since I've seen you.
All right, so let's go ahead and get it out the way. How was your jumper?
Well, I was a slasher when I was playing, so slashers age ugly. So I'm working on the jumper. I got a ball in my car right now, and I got to tell you something. You may want to cover this, Donnie, but I got a game coming up, 1-on-1 against Senator Carl Jackson. Game to 3. He's
Does
agreed.
He know what he's in for? Does he know?
He's going to find out.
So nobody told him.
Relentless defense. That's what it's all about.
No. How did he come to that? You caught him. You caught him slipping. Come on now. He thought you were a county guy.
Well, we're going to see. This game is to 3. I get the ball first. Make it, take it.
How you get the ball first?
Because I'm older than him. Way older than him.
Got him on that too. Are you anybody taking bets?
For amusement only, Donnie.
Because I've never seen him with a basketball.
No, I understand. Senator Jackson can play. He's got game.
Where did he play?
I don't know. You can, when you get him on the show, you can check in with him.
I don't even know if he knows about this show, does he? He's all the way in that part of the county.
I'll let him know that I mentioned the game, and that'll get him. I think that'll get him energized. But I keep a ball in my car because I'm always ready to go.
Yeah, you've talked smack for a lot of times and for a lot of years and have backed it up. The question that came to mind was, when you worked for the city of Baltimore, were you thinking back then in 2000, were you thinking about this 25 years ago?
No, I had not. This was never in my mind. I've just always loved working with communities. And so when I was the director of the mayor's office of neighborhoods, I just loved trying to strengthen communities in Baltimore City. Me and my team, and this, Donnie, because I saw you out in neighborhoods in the field all the time. We went to 4,272 community meetings, and really, it's been kind of how I operate. I feel like you can't be in the office and look at the four walls of your office and believe that's the community. The only way to understand the community, and the first step in helping to strengthen community, is to understand it. The way you do it is to be present, to be out every night in the community at a community meeting, understand what's happening at the ground level, what are concerns that people have with their day in, day out quality of life. You can't do that sitting in the office. It's something that's been a passion for me my entire life. And that's why, I started as a city planner in Baltimore City. What do city planners do? They go to community meetings. When I came back into the mayor's office.
That's what they used to do, Izzy.
Well, I'll tell you, I keep my credentials up. That's what I'm trained to do. And that's unfortunate because, like I said, maybe I'm old school, but I believe if you're not present, you're not going to make good decisions.
Izzy, I live here in Sandtown, over here at Fremont and Lawrence. Very busy intersection, 1 block from Pennsylvania and Lawrence. The planners came out and put up the tripod and videotaped the traffic on that corner. They did that for a while. And then they had a community meeting and said, we're going to take your traffic light away. And what? we said, not on planet Earth. Clearly, you don't know how busy this intersection is. And it's a school right here, even though the school's closed. And honestly, Izzy, now I got to tell you, this was a year ago. The meeting was around at St. James, a historic church on Church Square. They came to the church meeting, and it's not that one of the planners was black and everybody else was white. That wasn't it. And it wasn't that they came to church and didn't start with prayer. That wasn't it. They came to the community and bring no damn food and talk smack. And I can't imagine you being a part of something. I mean, one, you're in the church and they don't even acknowledge God. I mean, it's just, and they were there to tell us, hey, we took video footage of your corner and we're going to, and it came to me that planning is not the same planning that it was 25 years ago. And I'll tell you one other thing. I don't know how you feel about it. This is not a pre-rehearsed conversation. Bike lanes are appropriate some places, but I don't think you can say bike lanes everywhere because they don't fit.
Well, Donnie, it goes back to you can't just go to one community meeting and think you figured it out. You have to go every month. And I can tell you, for example, I grew up near the Woodmore community. I grew up in Lockern, and I love the Woodmore community. And I go to the monthly meeting. I go every month because the dynamics of it is ever changing. And so, and you have to be present, not just one time. You can't show up and say, hey, I'm your councilman, I'm your planner, I'll see you sometime in the future. You have to be there at the next month meeting. You have to be there at National Night Out. You have to be out when they're doing some sort of an event, a flea market. You have to have this built. You can't try to build a relationship when you need it. You have to have an existing relationship in place with your community.
Like a lawyer.
Yes. I'm not like a lawyer. So
no, I'm saying you don't. So as a business consultant, I tell people don't wait till you need a lawyer to go get a lawyer.
Yep.
Like if you were a lawyer, I need a rapport with you now.
Exactly.
Hopefully, I won't need your services down the road. But if I do, I at least know your number. You'll at least
know your character and they know who you are. So yeah, I see your point.
I got to get to the heart of something.
Sure.
There is an angst, and this is probably the second most difficult question. How are Black-Jewish relations in greater Baltimore? And I got a joke for you to warm you up. What's the quickest route from Africa to Israel? Just to make you laugh, Izzy.
I would say the Suez Canal.
I would say Park Heights, but
Oh.
it's okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, it all depends. I don't really look at communities as a monolith. I think that, people have relationships. You're Black, I'm Jewish. We have a relationship. We're good. And that's really what it comes down to, is like, how do we as individuals get along? Then how do a larger number of individuals get along? It's really about, being respectful to one another. But I will say this has really touched me. And let's talk about Park Heights for a minute. So I was the first director of community development for LifeBridge Health. And so in that job, my job was to strengthen neighborhoods that were adjacent to LifeBridge Health campus locations. So Northwest Hospital, Sinai Hospital, Carroll County Hospital. I didn't spend much time in Carroll County. I spent, 10% of my time around Randallstown and Northwest Hospital, but I spent 90% of my time in the Park Heights area. And so, I think you've heard, and you probably have covered this on the show, that the life expectancy north of Northern Parkway is 83 years old. You can expect to live 83 years old, to be 83. Life expectancy south of Northern Parkway is 63 to 66. And it really, you hear that
the race.
You hear that as data. I think it's the disparities of healthcare. And so, for me, when I was working, and it really, you look at the data and that's just numbers. But when you look at it in terms of people and friendships and people you love, it really hits home. For example, the community leaders that I worked with in Park Heights when I left LifeBridge Health in 2018, Chris Crockett, he was maybe late 50s, early 60s. He's no longer with us. George Mitchell, I think George was in his 60s. George is no longer with us. Eddie Brooks, president of Levendale Community. He was a little older, he may be 10, 15 years older than us, so he actually lived a long life. But my friends, community leaders when it's people it's so different. It hits home. And so, quite frankly, I'd be dead if I lived south of Northern Parkway, according to the data.
So it's black or white. It's regardless.
Well, that's a good question. I would say that I didn't take that deep a dive, because I think that south of Northern Parkway is a larger percentage of African American residents. North of Northern Parkway has a less African American residents. So I would say it does align. There's certainly a correlation with race, and that's something we all need to work on. Black, Jewish, all of us as a community.
A lady running for county executive the last time around, her name was Vicky Allman. Kenny Brown and them had me co-moderating a forum. And you would never say this. I bet my life on it. And she didn't know I was Baltimore City. She just saw this handsome African-American guy out there in Woodlawn, and she just presumed I lived in the county. She said, Izzy, Councilman, we don't want Baltimore County to become like Baltimore City. I'm not putting her on Front Street. I mean, I ripped her a new one that day because I was trying to tell her that all the damn dope dealers live out Liberty Road, but that wasn't the point. The real point was the interrelationship of Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Can you speak to that for me?
Sure. It always bothers me when somebody says a statement like that. We don't want Baltimore County to become Baltimore City, because, I think Baltimore, if you're truly Baltimore, you don't really distinguish the two. You take pride in Baltimore. And so we need to be strong in the city and in the county. It's as if you lived on the street and, one house is not doing well, your neighbor's not doing well, and your house is doing well, at least in your mind. That's not going to be a strong neighborhood. the neighborhood's strong if everybody's doing well. And we are neighbors, Baltimore City, Baltimore County. When when you go to Orioles game or Ravens game, it's part of your community, and you want your community to be strong. So I think to be strong. So I don't think it's a good play to
divide them.
To divide them, to say disparaging things about Baltimore City. I've lived here my whole life in the city and in the county. I love Baltimore, and I feel very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to help strengthen neighborhoods both in Baltimore City and in Baltimore County.
Now this is a tad more complicated.
Sure.
Because I'm not throwing it at you, it's just out there. I have a friend in Atlanta that, he grew up here, blah, blah, blah. And he talks about regularly, I mean, just out the clear blue, we talking about the Knicks, and then he brings up this topic of Baltimore City and Baltimore County becoming one municipality.
Oh, I've heard that. I just think it would be a challenge. Nationally, there are only two large cities that have a separate county and a separate city, and they're different governments. It's Baltimore and St. Louis. Atlanta, for example, I think is part of 3 different counties, and other cities are part of counties, but only Baltimore and St. Louis. The county is its own entity, and the city is not part of any county. And so I think that there are things we can partner together. I just think that it sounds nice. The reality of it is difficult because of a whole slew of issues: cultural, financial, political, where I don't think that would ever. I don't think it, and you're in my lifetime, it's not going to happen. But where we can partner is, I think we should have a regional water authority, because the water right now is controlled by Baltimore City, and that's based on how the area was how Baltimore City and Baltimore County, the population was 100 years ago, when Baltimore County had a small population and Baltimore City had a very large population. I think the regional water authority would ensure that we have good water and sewer throughout, not just Baltimore City and Baltimore County, but throughout the region.
Okay, I got to call you on the carpet on that. Does that mean that my $600 water bill gets shared by you in the county? Your bill will go up and mine will go down because
I think so. I do think so.
The county gets a great ride on Baltimore City's water bill, don't they?
Absolutely. I know, because I have a bigger house in Baltimore County than I did in Baltimore City when I lived in Dickeyville, but my water bill is less. And so is that fair? Not really. So I think that in this regional water authority, I think that there'll be equity in terms of pay rates and also better service.
Okay, over the past years, we've had Kevin Kamenetz, Jim Smith, Johnny Olszewski. Who's your favorite?
I don't know Jim Smith all that well, but I know Kevin. I knew Kevin. Kevin grew up one block away from. This is Baltimore. Kevin grew up one block away from me.
I gotta talk smack. He swore he could lift some weights. Could he play ball?
No.
He
couldn't play ball. I like Kevin. A baller, he was not. No. Nope. But Johnny O. So I did play one-on-one with Johnny O.
I wouldn't have did that.
I had him. There was a picture that appeared in the Sun the other day of Johnny O. We played the same rules I got with Senator Jackson, game to 3. I had Johnny O 1-0. And, he's younger than me and taller than me. And then he beat me 3-1. But when I had him 1-0, I should have faked an injury and walked away proud. I could only give him the head fake once when I scored my first basket, and then he wouldn't go for it again. So
Basketball can tell you something about the people you're playing against.
Well, basketball's the great equalizer, Donnie. So, for example, you and I played a lot. When we played, we had a group, a pretty diverse group. I think we had white folks, black folks, Asian folks playing, and none of us really evaluated each other on our, the random circumstances of our birth. We evaluated each other on what kind of game do you bring onto this court. And so that's why I love it, because it's all about game. It's not about anything else.
Okay, so how are you doing in this era of Trump?
Well, this is why we need to be so strong at the local level. And we need the strongest leadership we can have at the local level, because we don't know what's going to happen from day to day in terms of Trump may wake up with some new idea that he thinks is great in his mind, but it's not so great on us in the community. And so we've got to be able to be nimble at the local level and also be strong, because let's say he cuts off some funding source that's critical to things that are important to local government, because he doesn't know local government. He hasn't a clue as to, when I talked about being present at community meetings, community meeting isn't at Mar-a-Lago golf course. It's out in one of the neighborhoods. So from his vantage point, all he can see is his self in the mirror and how orange he is. And then, I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Or
Pretty orange.
He's pretty orange. And
I thought you were going to touch the helicopter hairdo, but
I don't, I try to stay, because of what I got, I try to stay away from hair comments. But he doesn't really see what impacts us. He only sees what impacts his rich buddies. And so I think many of the policies coming out aren't there to help you, me, and people in the Baltimore region. They're there to help his buddies get even more wealthy. These tariffs, I believe these tariffs have nothing to do with the economy. I think they have to do with the economy of his buds watching the stock market. That's what I believe to be true.
Gaza Strip, I got to ask you about it. Got a lot of people starving. I see it looks like one of those care commercials from Africa from back in the 70s.
Yeah, it's frightening. I think that this thing needs to come to conclusion. Israel needs to get its hostages, and I think there's from what I understand, Donnie, there's not that many hostages left, but there are remains of people that were murdered. And I want to emphasize not killed, but murdered, people. And, they were at a concert. Terrorists came, and Hamas, the terrorist organization Hamas, has really perpetrated great crimes on the people of Gaza and the people of Israel.
Do you think America has terrorized Black people?
Well, certainly, if you go back into the history, certainly slavery is absolutely a form of terror, because so we built our economy on that in many respects. And so in my mind, the idea of having people become property of other people, that's terror. And how do you ensure that happens from generation to generation? By terrorism. You can't leave. You are, I think we all know the history that if you are a runaway slave or try to escape and the horrors that you would face, that's terrorism. And so now we're not in that place anymore, but certainly, there's issues of generational wealth, and not just wealth, but other quality of life issues that take a long time to make it fair and to get to a place that there's some level of equity.
Izzy, they tell me if I had a house in the county and I wanted to sell it, I need to take down all of my African masks, have a white person house sit for me, put some European art in, and the appraisal value of the house will go up.
I don't know if that's true. I think if you keep your house up, it'll sell well. I know and there's different things related to buyers. When I lived in Dickeyville, my wife was really, she's an architect, and she wanted to make sure that every hinge, every doorknob looked historical. She looked, because it was a historic house. So she would restore every piece of hardware. And I said, Denise, just go to Home Depot and get a hinge and put it on. But when we sold our house, the realtor told us the reason it sold so quickly was because people really admired how each hinge and each doorknob had been restored so perfectly. So as much as I stressed my wife out with her expenditures on doorknobs and hinges and other things that made the house look appealing, I'm glad we sold it quickly.
How is she taking this political ascension of Islam?
So I don't. Have you ever met Denise? I'm not sure if you. So Denise is from Atlanta, and we've been married 30 plus years. And she's just I married way up. I think, what did it say? I kicked beyond my coverage on Denise. So she's just a lovely person. She could have done way better than me, but she's just really an outstanding person. We have a
wise man. You getting all kinds of points here.
And we have a great son, Rory, who Rory, I don't know if you met Rory either. So Rory, he just graduated college in Montreal. He's a good baller. He played college baseball for Concordia University.
Really?
So he's when I play catch with him, Donnie, it's dangerous nowadays because his ball's coming in so hard. It's got movement, and if it's in the twilight, I just have to protect important parts of my body because I can't always
understand. there was a basketball player at Dunbar, Eric Green, and he had in high school easily a 90 mile an hour. And honestly, I was the catcher. Honestly, this guy could hit the mitt. I'd be holding the glove like this.
Yeah,
it would come that fast. I'd be tricking myself. Don't just
right there. It's those 90 miles an hour is no joke. Hey, can I tell you a quick great baseball story?
Come on with it.
It's about the Liberty Road Red Wings. So when my son was playing club ball, he played with the Liberty Road Red Wings. And so the untold story of the Liberty Road Red Wings is they won the championship in regional club baseball here. And then more than half of the team went on to play college baseball. So I just think that's a great story. Nobody ever talks about the Liberty Road Red Wings, but they had great coaching. It was a family.
Derek talks about baseball. I don't know if he talks about the Red Wings. So is that a minor league team?
No, it's a club baseball. You mean Derek Burnett?
Yes.
So Derek coached. In fact, Liberty Road Red Wings have been around. You know Stefan Dingle from Channel 13?
I don't know Mr. Dingle, but I know Burnett, and I know he's watching this show, and he insisted that you come on this show.
Well, Derek knows Stefan Dingle because he's on Channel 13, and Derek coached him on the Liberty Road Red Wings, and he played at St. Mary's College. My son played at Concordia University. About half of the team played at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and so it was really great because these young men came up together. They really played well together, and I was really proud of them. Always liked going out to see them play. They even played. They were 16, 17. Was it 15, 16? They were playing at 17, 18 and still winning. So, it's an untold story. And Derek knows Dexter was the coach and Sylvester was coach for my son. And I think Sylvester's son played college ball as well.
Okay, another deep dive. There was a time here in Baltimore City where blacks could not live above North Avenue or west of Fulton Avenue. I don't know if you knew that back when you were working for planning, but Baltimore is the home, thanks to J. Barry Mahul back in 1910, the home of segregation, legalized segregation.
I do know that because I read Ontario Patia's book, Not in My Neighborhood. And this was a commonality that both the Black and the Jewish community shared, that we were not allowed to live in certain neighborhoods, and it was enshrined in the deeds on properties. In some cases, Jewish developers had built neighborhoods, but members of the Jewish community and Black community could not live in the neighborhoods that a Jewish developer had.
Did that include Roland Park?
Yes, it did. In fact, when I lived in Dickeyville, the deeds did exclude.
It was written on the deed.
Yep. In fact, my next door neighbor, who was Jewish, he lived next door to someone who was an original Dickevillian, and her deed, she was Miss Lovelace, was about 105 years old, but he was Jewish. He bought the property from Dr. Hill, who was a professor at Morgan State, and Dr. Hill was African American, and so Miss Lovelace was probably trying to figure out who was the worst neighbor, the Jewish person or the Black person.
So in that position, you mentioned, well, we alluded to Roland Park. I've learned some things since we last played basketball, and it started around Roland Park. I didn't know, for instance, that Blacks lived in Cross Keys prior to the development of Roland Park. I did know about Morgan Park and Wilson Park.
Yep.
But when we think of the history of Baltimore, they say that Baltimore is the home of apartheid in America. And it started right here in Baltimore. And my ex-wife is in Catonsville now. She showed me her original deed. She lives in a house, and the original deed said you cannot sell this house to a Black person.
Yeah.
How do we go past this?
Yeah, we need to get past it. We also need to respect one another. We have, I don't know if you're familiar with Historic East Towson, Doni, which was we have in Baltimore County historically African-American neighborhoods.
That's what Vashti McKenzie's church is up there?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. It's basically, these neighborhoods are usually founded around a church. And so Historic East Towson is really a great neighborhood. And over the years, they've been, I don't know, taken advantage of, even though they have really strong leadership by very powerful forces. For example, in the 60s or 70s, they had a park there, and the park was where many players that were on the former Negro leagues played, and now that park no longer exists. It's now a BGE power plant. And then in more recent history, the county built a Towson bypass, demolishing homes in historic East Towson, and it further got marginalized. And then now we have a proposal. It's really very controversial. There's a little bit of open space in historic East Towson that is now being slated for affordable housing. And I've got nothing against affordable housing, but in an inner beltway neighborhood, open space is so impactful and so valuable. And so instead of leaving open space for historic East Towson, they want to put somewhere near a neighborhood of 60 units, eliminating all of the open space in historic East Towson. So, that's a historic African-American neighborhood that continually, anytime somebody gets a dumb idea, they say, let's do it in historic East Towson and marginalize it even more. So they got a Nancy Goldring, who's the president of the association. She's a great lady. I enjoy working with her, and we're going to push back along with organizations like NeighborSpace, Green Towson Alliance, and say you have to stop. Anytime you look somewhere else when you have a brilliant idea of how you want to damage historic East Towson, do it elsewhere, not in this neighborhood.
Okay, here comes the knuckleball question.
Sure.
Your critics say you sided with the Republicans to do this new map.
So those people that are saying that want to keep 7 members, want to keep the county council all men and mostly white. And because that's what we have, because we're embedded in 1957. So 2 of my Democratic council colleagues, one didn't show up for the deliberations or a vote on the meeting. So how can you criticize if you don't show up? I guess it wasn't important enough to him. You know, showing up, it's all about showing up.
He said he had a planned trip.
Well, you got to plan your trip.
Vacation.
So let me ask you this, Donnie. If you have legislation that will change representation for Baltimore County, would you plan your vacation around the vote and the deliberations?
That's like saying you playing Izzy's team. Are you going to guard him or are you going to let him just shoot?
Let me just
guard him. I got to take his left.
So you have one, you know, you have, you know, Councilman Jones, I'll just say it, he didn't show up, nor did he participate in the deliberations. Councilman Young, and these are my Democrat colleagues, he went radio silent on us. Like he wasn't going to tell us. Like I said, Pat, on a Friday, what are your thoughts? And he said, well, you know, I got some amendments I'm thinking about. I don't know if I don't really care if they pass or not, but I'll touch base with you. So I called him over the weekend, nothing, crickets. Talked to him on Monday of the vote, nothing. So he went radio silent. And I think what you see happening, Donnie, I'm just going to say it, is the narrative, it's really trying to create a narrative for both Councilman Jones and Councilman Young finding a political lane. It has nothing to do with good public policy, and that's the shortcoming. To me, if you practice good public policy, trying to find good public policy, you don't need to worry about a political lane because your political lane is right there. But if you reach
out to your Democratic colleagues, they will ghost. And what's the council? 3 Republican, 4 Democrats?
Yeah, and so we needed a super majority. How do you get a super majority? And you got 2 Democrats who said, look, we're not really interested in participating in this because we have to find our political lane. It doesn't make sense.
You did the unthinkable. Just like when I supported Ehrlich back in 2002. How could you do that? And I will tell you, as a result, Coppin got more money than it ever got before.
I mean, you have to do what's good for the people and not what's good for your own political lane. And so that's where that's a big difference. And, you know, if you think about it, in 1956, when Baltimore County became a charter county, that's almost 70 years ago, we had a population of 250,000. We had a council of 7 members.
That was a lot of people, 7 for 200.
Now we have 850. 70 years later, we still have 7 council members. Imagine if no other agency adjusted, like we didn't have more rec and parks. We only had rec and parks for 250,000, police for 250,000, schools for 250,000. And we're now trying to have representation for 850,000, but we want to do it like as if we had 250,000. It doesn't make sense. And I would say for my colleagues,
the conservative thing though, you know,
what do you mean?
PG Montgomery, they got 11. You guys only aim for 9. I don't get that. Why not get up to par with the rest of the state?
We may, in fact, do that. I actually talked to some of my colleagues in Montgomery County and asked them, what was your path to expanding? And they said, take baby steps. If you go too fast, it won't be as successful if you take baby steps. So we may get to 11. We had a commission actually that determined the number. It wasn't like we grabbed the number out of the air. I established a council expansion work group, and they looked at keeping it the same. They looked at growing it to 9, growing it to 11, or growing it to 13. And they issued a 100-page report that said you should grow it to 9. So we're following the recommendations of a work group. Also subjectively hearing my colleagues from Montgomery County. But I can tell you this whole narrative is getting old on me, Donnie. And that's why I'm so candid about this, is because it's really a false narrative of Democrats that chose not to participate in the process for their own political gain.
You are for, I would imagine, the sovereignty of Israel.
Yes, look, my parents were Holocaust survivors, Donnie. So, and
I'm going somewhere with this.
okay.
Do you understand me believing in the sovereignty of Burkina Faso and how they want the French out, as do Senegal, Mali, Niger, and the other Francophone countries in the Sahel?
I understand that. I don't think I think colonization is, I think that's for another, another time period, not for 21st century.
Okay, so right now is you and Julian out there. What's going to be the battleground? Is it going to be Essex?
Well, I don't know. For me, the battleground is just being present. That's what you do. Is if you're present, people will support you. If you, if you're present with us, for me, communities are my sweet spot. The development community may be a sweet spot for other candidates.
I'm big on business. I don't remember a lot of good things. When Jim Smith was in county executive, he did some wonderful things with Ken Oliver. And people can say what they want about Ken. I don't think he clipped any money, the $2,000 that went missing. But Ken brought a Home Depot, a Walmart, and a TGIF Fridays to Liberty Road. I know since then you got a tractor store out Liberty and Marriottsville. I never quite understood that because not too many damn farms in that area. But in the realm of black business, Liberty Road, if you become county executive, can you require people who drive on Liberty Road to take a driving test?
Well, let me just back up for a second and say that Ken Oliver also brought the Randallstown Community Center to Liberty Road.
Biggest swimming pool out there.
Yeah, swimming pool, basketball courts, pickle. The rage now is pickleball. If you go in the basketball, they play basketball at night. But if you go up during the afternoon, they have different levels of pickleball going on. And it's mostly older adults, but they can play. And there's even the advanced group. You have to look out because that ball will hit you and it will hurt you. So let me back up. That was my comment on Ken Oliver's. And you know what? I'll bet when Ken created the Randallstown Community Center, he never envisioned, but this is leadership, when things happen beyond your vision, I'll bet he never envisioned the amount of pickleball that will be played at that community center. None of us would have imagined, but this is an interesting thing, Donnie, is 1 out of every 5 resident of Baltimore County is 65 or older. The next largest age cohort is 54 to 65. So we boomers, I'm not sure if you're a boomer or not, Donnie, but
60. I'm on the cusp. I'm 60.
Yeah, you are on the cusp. But the boomers, we're coming and we want to play pickleball. And so
I didn't hear you say you play pickleball.
I didn't mean me. I've never played. I'm just
saying.
I was
going to say, because you don't play, you wouldn't play because you don't want them old people spanking you and get pictures and video all on social media. You're too much a competitor.
They can play. It's really my wife plays and she enjoys it. But for me, I like the big round ball. And so as long as my body can physically do it, that's what I'm going to do. I am playing softball too, by the way. In fact, I don't know how long I'll say this. I played 2 games. I'm 4 for 4. So I can hit line drives, throw strikes, but I can only go station to station on the base paths.
Okay, another tough issue. Randallstown has the largest percentage, to my understanding. Are you ready?
Yes.
Of group homes in the state of Maryland. And for a long time, I didn't understand it. Dan Moorheim, Bobby Zirkin, brought it to my attention years ago, and I understand that many of the owners of group homes, I'm not surprised now, but back then I was, are Black people trying to pay that mortgage. My brother has a group home directly across the street from it. He's often told me, I won't say complain, but he's often told me in recent years about how poorly they're managed. Regular 911 calls, regular police attention. And this is an otherwise stable community off of Brentbrook, Meadow Heights. But your area has more group homes than anywhere else in the state. Has that come across your desk?
I don't know. I know that there's a lot of group homes everywhere in Baltimore County, and I think there's a reason for that. A couple of reasons. One is, they're protected by the American with Disabilities Act, that people that need that kind of service, and I can't remember the exact number of how many unrelated individuals can live in a home, but there's some level of protection through the American with Disabilities Act. But the other issue is that people that need a group home setting need it because we don't have enough facilities to address their needs that are public facilities, that are facilities that have specialized care because of funding cuts. And it's going to get worse because with the Trump administration, the impact will be those that are most marginalized. I talked about Trump's buddies. They're not going to get hurt. The folks that have no voice, the residents of group homes, people in communities, they're the ones that are going to get hurt by Trump policies. And so I think we need to address it. But I think the problem's going to get worse, not better, because of what the federal government's doing under a Trump administration.
This is not your doing, but I got to ask you your take. And I'm just going to keep it as pure and as real as we would if we were on the basketball court. Izzy, Baltimore County keeps voting for a Black school superintendent, but damn, no sooner as they get in there, here comes the Sun, the Banner, the Brew, and everybody else. And it's like, well, damn, they just came. You say great things, and now they straight out the door, or I don't know. So do the old white ladies on the school board like the Black people? Do they just hire them like, oh, we're going to hire them to fire them? What's going on?
Well, I will tell you this. I'll tell you about my experience with Dr. Rogers. I think she's doing an outstanding job. She's she's more accessible than department heads in Baltimore County. If I call Dr. Rogers, she'll either answer right away or she'll call me back in a few minutes. She'll take, even if the issue, she's got a ton of stuff on her plate. And even if my issue is kind of in the minutia, she will still address it in a very respectful way, in a way that she follows up. I quite frankly have never, I've been doing this kind of work 30 plus years. I've not worked with a superintendent of schools that's more accessible than Dr. Rogers. And so I think she's doing a great job. My colleagues say she's accessible as well. It's perhaps the most difficult job in government, not just in Baltimore County. And so one of the things, that I've learned as a council member and is in the career I've had is being present, being accessible goes a long way. So Dr. Rogers, she's hearing issues that my constituents are hearing, because typically when I call her, I'm not asking her how her day is going. I'm conveying issues that I'm hearing from my constituents, and she's always ready, willing, and able to follow up. Okay.
African Americans contribute a good percentage to the Baltimore County tax base.
No doubt.
Will, and I get lost on this term. I don't see myself as a minority. I hate the term. I think it's ugly. Especially when you look at how it came about, this whole minority business enterprise, the 60s, the 68 riots. Okay, well, fine, let's break off some of these contracts. I presume I was 3 years old. That's how it went. What better way to appease a community and then to invest in it? Will Black business, not minority business, not MBE, because they say really white women get the majority of those MBE contracts, but will Black business be a priority in your county executive administration?
Absolutely. We need to have a strong business environment. We need to make sure that minority-owned businesses, Black businesses, get a fair shake in our contracts that we're letting out. And I can tell you, this may be one of the real difference makers in terms of the upcoming election, because I can tell you that I get calls from companies that do business with Baltimore County, and they do not like, and we have really modest goals for MBE participation. But some of the companies that do business with Baltimore County don't like those goals. They say they're not making enough. And in many cases, they are not supporting me. They're going all in on some of the other candidates that'll be running for county executive. And so, that's something that we'll probably see into the future, but it's something for folks to watch, because irrespective of race, it's more about being present and understanding the issues. And so for me, I understand that we need to have strong MBE, and we need to have enforceable MBE, and we need to have real MBE, and we need to not let some of the companies say, hey, we're not making enough money because of your MBE requirements. And they'll be supporting other candidates, I can tell you, because I've shared my thoughts on it with them, and they didn't like it.
If you should become county executive, will Baltimore County still remain to be David S. Brown County?
Oh, I think that
that was kind of a joke.
But no, I can tell you,
he's the developer king out there.
He is, and I would say that the majority of the development community I don't think they're in my camp.
Oh, well, that's a polite way of saying it, because we did understand that one candidate has never met a developer they didn't like.
Well, I can speculate on that, but I'll just leave it to the imagination of folks.
Why? We'll keep it clean. We've been pretty clean thus far, because I know I'm going to see you on the basketball court, and I know you will talk smack. Why should people vote for you? And thank you for joining us today. Thank you for answering. Thank you for answering your phone.
Sure.
No, I mean that.
Yeah.
That's a difference maker for me. We get these damn things and we play like we don't. You answered your phone. You get points. There are people who don't answer the phone. Marion Barry, he answered his phone. Say what they want about him. Don't stop answering your phone. And I already know Baltimore City has groomed you for Baltimore County. I'm not saying Baltimore County is easier, but you were here in the city, and I watched you. I watched you play ball, and I think you can tell something about a person's character in how they play ball. And you got a mean jumper. You got to respect that jumper. You got to respect the jumper. But why should people vote for you for county executive?
Well, I think,
and I'm gonna back out and give you the screen. Is that okay?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that we prided ourselves on in my office is relentless follow-up. And so if we get a constituent concern, we're following up, and we're following up to the very end until we have some resolution. And then the other thing I think that's really important is being present at community meetings, understanding what's going on at the level that touches people every day. And, then the third factor, I think, is practicing good public policy. I said earlier that some of my colleagues are trying to figure out what their political lane is. And I've always believed that you practice the implementation of good public policy, then you have your political lane. You need not search any further. And, and also caring about people, being present in the community. Sometimes I just go to the supermarket and I get just a carton of milk, and I just stay in the supermarket just to talk to people, to hear their concerns. So I've done this kind of work my entire life. It's very natural to me. Into the future, I'm planning to continue to be as accessible as I've always been. continue relentless follow-up on issues that are even seem to be minutia, but really important to residents here in Baltimore County. So that's a little bit about me, and thank you, Doni, for giving me a chance to talk.
Do you want to handle this hot issue? I was going to save it for the next time you come on.
No, I'll take a hot issue. I'm happy to handle a hot issue.
Okay, what's the deal with the Inspector General out there? What's the situation?
So it's interesting. For me, it's always been about employee retention. You have a good employee, you want to keep that employee. You don't want to ask that employee to reapply for his or her job. And so the Inspector General was asked to reapply for her job. We're in a good position where we have two strong candidates. Ms. Walker presented herself to be very strong, got a good resume.
Come on, Izzy, you know the deal. If I came down court and I shot you with an elbow, before that game is over, is somebody gonna throw an elbow back?
Yeah.
Now this Inspector General, I forgot who swung on who, but she went after Johnny O and Julian.
Well, there are conspiracy theories. I'm not going to subscribe to any of those.
She popped back, but she miscalculated that you got to go back and see them again.
Yeah, well, we've had hundreds of calls about this. We'll see what happens. We're going to vote on this on Monday. So we'll see.
You don't have a good poker face. You can't hide it well.
I guess if you're honest, it's hard to have a poker face. And I try to be honest.
You are honest, and you earn your way. And I think you admire people who earn their way along the way.
Absolutely.
Also, I appreciate you. God bless you and your family. And if you do become county executive, I wasn't all that big a fan of Kevin Kamenetz. Probably because he never came out on the court.
No, Kevin never came out on the court, that's for sure.
At least Derek Burnett is a fan of yours.
I never saw him. Derek's a good man. We went to high school together. I've always liked Derek when we were young, and really proud of him as he's.
Could he really play though? I mean, he swears
Derek was good. Derek was good. He's just a good man, and for me, we both went to Woodlawn High, and anytime somebody from Woodlawn High does well, makes me proud. Woodlawn High, it has Calvin Ball went to Woodlawn High. A couple of other elected officials went to Woodlawn High.
Joe Mans went there.
Well, and you know what? I saw that you had you highlighted the award shop that's in my district on the beginning of your show. And I appreciate you doing that, Doni.
He was a good man. His son's a good man.
Well, good news is we got $1 million that we're going to try to revitalize the Woodlawn Village area where the shop is. His son is a good man. There's another Barnett that went to Woodlawn High, Aaron Barnett, who
Block.
Yeah, Block.
Now, I know I would imagine he's a little more aggressive on the court than Mr. Derek Burnett.
Yeah, well, they both had good game. When we were real young, it was kind of interesting. I lived on Forest Garden, and Derek and Aaron lived in Powhatan area. And so the Forest Garden boys would walk up to Powhatan and play the Powhatan boys in basketball every day. Every day. Grudge match. I still,
Derek was trying to tell me, look, they had the Legends game out at Woodlawn Park. You got to go next year. 85-year-old JoJo Parker, 85.
Wow.
51 points in a game. I had never heard this stuff before, Izzy.
Wow.
Players from
that era, we had players like Tony Yarborough, Sandy Johnson could play. And these are names I know that Derek Barnett remembers. So we had lots of good ball players in kind of the little area where we all grew up.
He swears y'all were the best, but that's that city-county thing, and it's a great competition. And I will keep you informed about next year's cookout. It's called One Baltimore. Timmy Green, Dunbar Poet, 70, class of 73.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that thing should be. You are exactly the person to talk to. It should be even bigger.
You know, Ellis Dawson lives in the district, who played on the Dunbar, one of the Dunbar teams. He coached rec ball with me, and he lives in my district. And you know, he's a good man. I think he was on one of the Dunbar teams. I can't remember which year.
Okay. Well, we wish you great, great things on this ride to counties. I have watched you personally, and I wasn't all that big a fan of Marty Marr, but I got a chance to meet you, and I saw what you're made of, and you're genuine.
Well, thanks so much, Donnie. Appreciate it. You're a good man and genuine as well.
Yes, sir. Have a great day, and we will see you the next time we have you on the show.
Sounds great.
Good deal. Good
Take
morning,
care.
world. Yes, sir.